right now taking notes.
Mahomes running to his right. Look out, he may run. Mahomes directly. No, throw the end down. Batted intercepted. Bucks are going to beat the Chiefs. Tom Brady, you are the man. You are the GOAT.
Life, they say, begins at 40. It certainly was never intended to apply to football players. For Tom Brady, it might actually be true. In the wake of his 7th Super Bowl title, further cementing his legacy as the greatest of all time, a case could now be made that Brady has had a Hall of Fame career since his 40th birthday on August 3rd, before the 2017 season.
When to walk away, that's a good question. I think I'll know when it's time. So I don't know when that time will come. So you can't ever think that you're satisfied. You got to continue to build and grow and learn and evolve.
Since that milestone, he has now won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams, played in a 3rd Super Bowl, was an NFL MVP, and leads the NFL in wins. Yeah, now he's just piling on. Brady didn't merely win the Super Bowl this year, he did it after joining a new team that hadn't been to the playoffs since 2007. He did it during a global pandemic. And he had to beat former Super Bowl MVPs in Breeze, Rodgers, and Mahomes to pull it off. MVP of this game is so important. Normally, after a 43-year-old man wins his 7th Super Bowl, the sports world might be inclined to assume that will be the end. One final bright spot on a storybook career. But not Brady. Instead, we're left with yet another wildly unbelievable question. How many more rings might Brady still win?
All right, going for 8 this offseason, though. The Bucs will have some salary cap space. They could lose some key free agents. Obviously, they'll try to hang on to these guys. On the offensive side, Leonard Fournette, who emerged as such a force for the team, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, the receivers, Gronk, who came out of retirement, and Gronk, I was saying earlier today, he wants to come back and play for the Bucs next year. On defense, you see 3 big contributors from last night's win. Levante David, many say he's the heart and soul of that defense, also in Ndamukong Suh, and of course, Shaq Barrett. All of which brings us back to senior NFL insider Chris Mortensen and the Mort Report, back with us on SportsCenter. So Mort, Tom Brady has made it clear that he will be back. He joined a very talented team, and then he was able to attract other free agents. Was this lightning in a bottle because of Brady, or can other teams actually use the Bucs blueprint when it comes to building a championship contender?
Absolutely, and there are teams that use that same blueprint. Look at the Buccaneers. They were 7-9 last year with players that, were really, I'd say at least 10 of them among the league's best. 7-9, but Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions. They gave up over 140 points to opposing teams because of those 30 interceptions. When they looked at their roster, they said, well, we need a crown jewel. We need a quarterback. But bottom line is, if we can find that quarterback, and obviously that quarterback was Tom Brady, then he will see that we've got, hey, this is still a game. It's a team game, and it's a still game that is won and lost in the trenches. Strong up front in the offensive line, obviously strong on defense, and when you don't get all your guys in the draft, you go out, you sign a free agent like Tom Brady, he attracted Rob Gronkowski, you sign a free agent like Leonard Fournette, that you also add a number of other pieces as well to have really a team that should have won 11 games with Jameis Winston, won that amount in the regular season this year, and then just took it to a different height because they had a quarterback, tremendous leader, and been there before, poised. And so, yeah, that's the blueprint. You build in the trenches, you still build your team from the inside out, and then you make sure you got that quarterback. He doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. And oh, by the way, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, elite type quarterbacks, they've had losing seasons. So it takes more than just a quarterback, obviously, Hannah.
Yeah, but this was a special quarterback who immediately made this a championship caliber team. And then you talk about those guys who were free in the marketplace and able to join. We could put Antonio Brown in that group as well. And they signed up, and here they are. Getting back to you in just a sec. Kevin?
Let's bring in Marcus Spears here. And listen, I have a question scheduled to ask you, but just looking at your reaction, what are you feeling right now to what you just heard?
When I heard Mart say the trenches. Something happened to me, Kel. Something happened to me when I heard Mart say they won in the trenches and you build it inside out. And even my dumb self forgot it before the game and got caught up in all of this prolific offense. It's still a line of scrimmage game. That was a hell of a Mart report, like they all are. But Mart, thank you for that emotional soliloquy about line of scrimmage play. Okay,
but here's the thing. The reality is Shaq Barrett can test the market and Ndamukong Suh can test the market here. Levante David can test the market here. The problem is, Marcus, you're hanging around Dan Orlovsky way too much. That's what I got out of this. All right, now let's talk about the Bucs here. They win Super Bowl 55, and that's not that big of a surprise, but they were 3.5-point underdogs. The real surprise was how they made Patrick Mahomes look. When you have your starting tackles out against the Todd Bowles defense that stayed aggressive all night, it led to the worst loss in Mahomes' NFL career, his first double-digit loss since 2016 when he was at Texas Tech. Let's listen to number 15 afterwards.
As of today, I'm going to do whatever I can to kind of look at the film and try to find ways to get better. I mean, obviously with our offense and the success that we've had, when teams see that the defensive plan that he had and how well it worked, they're obviously going to try to do the same thing. And so that really goes with me, and not always looking for the big play, but just finding ways to move the ball down the field.
They were better than we were yesterday. We've made too many mistakes, whether it was me calling the plays, putting guys in the right position, or right down the line as you go. So you make that many mistakes against a good football team, and they weren't making as many mistakes, and you're not going to win at this level. So you gotta come into these games. You gotta be sharp.
That is new sound coming earlier today from Andy Reid. Now, when you look at this team, based on what you saw last night, what's your biggest concern with this Chiefs team moving forward?
Kev, I'm not going to go to the offensive side. Obviously, we knew the attrition there with the offensive line. I think they'll be fine when they get Fisher and Swartz. And I don't know if Tardif will come back. Tardif is the offensive lineman from the previous Super Bowl team that went to fight the pandemic and COVID, because he was a doctor as well. But I look at the other side of the football at the line of scrimmage for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is where they need to be better. Look, I love Chris Jones. I love his ability. He had a good game. If you look at this film, he was able to cause some disruption, but he didn't get enough from his mates, and it was the total opposite of what we saw from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They need to solidify a defensive line. They need to get a guy opposite of Frank Clark, and they also need to find some interior pressure outside of Chris Jones when teams are going to handle him with two guys. The next guy has to win his one-on-one. That was Nandy this game, and they just did not get home enough. So that's a concern going into the offseason for the Chiefs for me. The defensive line of scrimmage, they have to get better at that point. So when they do have to play games like they had to play against Tampa Bay, they not only can hold up against the run, but they can create and generate some pass rush with 4 as well, which we all know Brady struggles with that pressure as well, outside of when you blitz them and they got burned. So you need to have the same type of intensity that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had on their defense.
That is key, what you just said, when they play these type of games against the Buccaneers, because you can't just outscore every single